Thank you, everyone, for coming to ISKCON of Silicon Valley. It has been a great pleasure to welcome back for his annual tour through ISKCON of Silicon Valley, His Grace Sri Mukunda Datta Prabhu. Please give him a warm welcome. Mukunda Datta Prabhu is one of the early joiners of the Krishna Consciousness movement, who rode with the Radha Damodar party and was one of the pioneers of spreading Krishna consciousness in North America. He also later on distinguished himself academically in focusing on study of Sanskrit and other related topics, and going deeply within the Vedic Shastras, particularly Srimad-Bhagavatam and other Goswami literatures, for which he was a BBT editor, has been a BBT editor, continues, hopefully, to be a BBT editor for many years to come, for books such as the Laghu Bhagavatamrita by Rupa Goswami and other classics. There are very few people qualified on the Earth planet today that both know the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, are in the Sampradaya, and also are expert enough to edit Sanskrit, and what to speak of write original commentary, which he does as well. So he's been on an extensive tour, seemingly tirelessly traveling from one place to the next. So we're very fortunate to have him here for the next several days. So we welcome everyone to take full advantage of his learned and very devotional association. And one more time, Sri Mukunda Datta Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for such an enthusiastic, warm welcome. I was just appreciating the beauty of this garland, and I thought, I was trying to consider whether the garland is more beautiful or whether Vaisheshika Prabhu's heart is more beautiful. I think Vaisheshika's heart is more beautiful because the garland comes from his heart. That is its beauty. Okay, so we should begin. I'm sorry I'm a little late. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana 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 Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paradvijagacharya Ashtotar Shata Shri Srimad Srila Abhay Chanararendra Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nama Acharya Srila Thakur Haridas ki jai, Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadip Mayapur Dham ki jai, Ganga Devi ki jai, Yamuna Mai ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulsi Rani ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Harinama Sankirtana ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, ISKCON BBT Samsthapak Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gau Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, I don't need it. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Gnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We've been talking about the importance of developing our faith. We've defined faith. Last night we discussed particularly from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, text number 16. Shushrusho Sharadhanasya Vasudeva Katharuchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirthana Shevanat. And we heard that one awakens a taste for hearing about Vasudeva by associating with devotees, and particularly by hearing in the company of pure devotees, devotees who are, according to Sridhar Swami, Nishpapasya Mahat Seva. This is his commentary. Someone who is freed from all vice, something Srila Prabhupada's translation reflects. And we heard that even a little bit of association with such devotees will, the opportunity to serve those devotees will automatically arise. And from serving devotees like that, we develop our taste. Srila Jiva Goswami, in his commentary on that text, has also quoted from the third canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, chapter 25, text 25, in which Kapila Dev tells his mother, Devahuti, Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hrit karna rasayana katha tajjoshanadashva bhavarga vartmani shraddharatir bhaktir anukramishyati. That means the spiritually powerful message of Godhead can be properly discussed only in a society of devotees, and it is greatly pleasing to hear in that association. If one hears from devotees, the way of transcendental experience quickly opens, and gradually one attains firm faith that in due course develops into attraction and devotion. I'm quoting from Srila Prabhupada's translation of this verse as it's quoted by Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami in his Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Adi Lila chapter 1, and the text is number 60. There Srila Prabhupada has written in his commentary, this verse appears in Srimad-Bhagavatam 3.25.25, where Kapila Dev replies to the questions of his mother Devahuti about the process of devotional service. As one advances in devotional activities, the process becomes progressively clearer and more encouraging. Unless one gets this spiritual encouragement by following the instructions of the spiritual master, it is not possible to make advancement. Therefore, one's development of a taste for executing these instructions is the test of one's devotional service. Initially, one must develop confidence by hearing the science of devotion from a qualified spiritual master. Then, as he associates with devotees and tries to adopt the means instructed by the spiritual master in his own life, his misgivings and other obstacles are vanquished by his execution of devotional service. Strong attachment for the transcendental service of the Lord develops as he continues listening to the messages of Godhead. And if he steadfastly proceeds in this way, he is certainly elevated to spontaneous love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sridhar Swami raised the question that if it's true that hearing about Krishna burns up our karmic reactions and destroys our sinful mentality by gradually hearing, then what do we do if we don't have a taste for hearing? And he says that this verse in the Srimad-Bhagavatam first canto, Shushrusho Sharadhanasya, is the answer to that question. You simply associate with the pure devotees, and however you associate with the pure devotees, you will be engaged in devotional service, and by that engagement you will become elevated. Now in today's verse, following this line, Sridhar Swami has mentioned, Satsangasya bhaktiyangatam utpadayati satameti. He says this verse in order to establish the fact that major element of bhakti is satsanga, association with devotees. Sanatana Goswami likewise says, Etad vivaranam cha Shri Mahanubhavaya Deve Rasarnave Kritamasti Eva. The only way that we are situated in the ocean of bhakti rasa is by the grace of Mahanubhavas, great souls. In this description, nothing is relevant here. In all the stages of bhakti that we've heard so far, nothing is relevant without the association of devotees. What stages have we heard in today's verse? Is it on the board? I'm not sure. 3:25:25. If it's on the board, that would be good, because we're referring to the text. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hrit karna rasayana katha chad joshanadashu apavarga varshmani shraddharatir bhaktir anukrameshyati. So there are 3 stages mentioned here. Only 3 stages. Shraddha, Rati, and Bhakti. But we know that this list has been expanded in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. And how many stages does he give there in those verses? Adau Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangat Bhajana Kriya Ityadi. Anybody know these verses? How many stages? 9. 9 stages. Now, the same list is further expanded by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary on Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, text number 21. He gives 14 stages there. So, there's a lot of overlap here, obviously, and there's a lot of unpacking to do of these three words in the last line: Shraddha, Rati, and Bhakti. So we'll look at every word in the verse, in fact, just to get a better sense of what we're being told here. So first thing, Satam. Who are these Satam? Satam Prasangat, from the association of those who are Sat. Who are these people? Sat. What is Satam? Have we heard Satam in another famous verse from Srimad Bhagavatam? Satam. How about Sukhrit Satam? Ringing any bells? Huh? Yes. Nashta praishu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shlokir bhaktir bhavati naishiki. That's one. Also, Shrinvatam sukata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridiyantas tohya bhadrani vidhunoti. Kiska? Surit Satam, yes. So when we hear honestly, sincerely, try to understand, that we discussed last night, Jiva Goswami discussed. When we come into the association of devotees, we notice these devotees are having very, very involved discussions, spontaneous discussions amongst themselves about Krishna consciousness. They're really into this. What are they experiencing? What are they talking about? Maybe I should hear something also. This is the point. This is the beginning of faith. Comes about by that association with Satam, real devotees. So Sat, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he has glossed the term Punya Tirtha. Wherever you heard this, Punya Tirtha, Nishevanat. By serving the Punya Tirthas, he says Punya Tirtha means Sadguru, bona fide spiritual master. And Sridhar Swami likewise says Punya Tirtha means Nishpapasya Mahat, great soul who is freed from sin. When we hear Krishna consciousness in that kind of association, then it has a certain effect. And the effect establishes us within the ocean of Bhakti Rasa. Srila Prabhupada said we should become like deep water fish. We're in the ocean already. What kind of ocean are we in? The ocean of material existence. Here we have the Pacific Ocean nearby, everybody can appreciate. If you're out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, especially if you're Indian and don't swim, it's not going to be very easy. Your only hope is that you can maybe survive by clinging to the 300-mile wide plastic garbage island that's rotating in the Pacific Ocean right now. Maybe that will save you. But otherwise, it's not very easy. So we're in the ocean anyway, and we have to be in the ocean because actually we're a fish. This is the thing, aquatics. So what kind of ocean do we want to swim in instead of the ocean of material existence? Bhakti Rasa Arnava, the ocean of Bhakti Rasa. And Prabhupada said we should be deep water fish. Have you seen pelicans here? You must have seen. They little fishies who are curious and want to see what it's like up in this lubrious warm water near the surface of the ocean. They're in a very vulnerable position because these flying, predator birds with very sharp eyesight are flying over the Pacific Ocean just looking for little fishies like that they can swoop down and scoop up. The pelicans have a big pouch in their beak and they scoop up fish and just swallow them like that. Never knew what hit them. I was in Mauritius once taking a japa walk. Here we don't have dog catchers in America anymore. We used to have dog catchers. Everybody knows what a dog catcher is? The guys, they drive around the city streets in a truck, and they've got a big kind of a net sort of thing with a handle on it that if they see some stray dog, they just whoom, like that and scoop him up and throw him in the truck. So I saw this happen. One little dog is just wandering down the street minding his own business, and suddenly this truck swoops by him, and before he could even realize what was going on, he was already in the back of the truck. He probably never knew what hit him. And then he goes to the pound and who knows what happens. So we're like that, actually. In this ocean of material existence, anything can happen anytime. We heard last night some examples of that. So death can come anytime. And believe it or not, there are things worse than death. Some things that you wouldn't want to. I mean, just like if there's a nuclear war, we never know. You know, maybe it's better to be at ground zero, isn't it? Because otherwise, you know, you may end up with 2 heads and green skin or something like that. You're glowing for 6 months afterwards. All right, so anyway, the ocean of material existence is very unsafe place. There are predators swimming all around us. They will swallow us up at any point. Better to be a deep water fish swimming in the Bhakti Rasarnava Sindhu. But we've heard already from Sanatana Goswami, there's only one way to be situated in that Bhakti Rasarnava. What is it? Mahanubhava Kripa, the mercy of great souls. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur therefore says, Sadhu Sangataha Eva Bhagavati Manoratim Vahati Ityatra Kramamaha Satamiti. In this verse, he says, Kapila Deva is explaining the different stages that allow us to flow towards the ultimate goal of attachment, mental attachment or emotional attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the main thing that he says here is sadhu sangataha eva. It's affected only by sadhu sangha. So why does he use the word vahati? What does the word vahati mean? It means the same thing in Sanskrit as it does in Hindi. Vahati. Dhara vahati, no? Yes. So means we're floating like a current. Kapila Deva elsewhere in this third canto has already explained that in devotional service, we flow, and we're flowing towards the ocean. What is that ocean? Bhakti Rasamrita ocean. How does it flow? It flows through stages. Kramam aha. He explains these stages. Ado, in the beginning there's faith, then we have sadhu sangha. From sadhu sangha, anartha nivritti. Bhajana kriya. The process of bhajana begins. What is that process? Ninefold process. We hear about Krishna, we chant about Krishna, we remember Krishna, we offer obeisances, we pray, we worship, etc., etc. All these things. And from this bhajana kriya, we undergo a process of purification. Anartha nivritti. That's very important, so bookmark that. We'll talk more about it in a moment. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary on this verse, he tells us, first of all, what is this satam prasangan? Prasangat. We may recall that in chapter 25, third canto, chapter 25, text number 20, the word was used, prasangam. It was stated there that everyone knows that attachment is what binds us to this material world. But that same attachment, if we can somehow focus it on a pure devotee, then that becomes our doorway to liberation. Prasanga. So what is this prasanga? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, it means prakrishta sangat. Very powerful association. The word prakrishta, just like we have this word utkrishta. Everybody knows this word, no? It's a fancy Sanskrit word, like in Hindi mein bhi hote hain, no? Utkrishta. Iska matlab kya hai? Yep, super excellent. So prakrishta means like that. Superior, eminent, special, distinguished. It also means very strong. Strong in every sense of the term. Just like a strong taste. You see? So by strong association with devotees, he said, then this actually happens. What actually happens? Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hrit karna rasayana katha. The topics about me, they develop this medicinal characteristic. First of all, mama virya samvit. How has it been described? Mama virya samvit. Virya, Sridhar Swami says, or Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, means man mahatmyam, my glories. Sridhar Swami and Sanatan Goswami both say it means samyag vidvedanam. You understand directly, you directly perceive the glory of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's one thing to hear about these things theoretically, it's another thing to directly experience them and to realize them through direct perception. Just like one of my godbrothers in Vrindavan gave a very graphic example. When we talk about death, we talk about death all the time in Krishna consciousness, right? But it's one thing to talk about death and it's another thing to experience death. It's like you can talk about electrocution in a classroom, but if you hold a fork into a socket, then that's a very different experience, isn't it? Because then you directly experience what does it mean to be electrocuted. It's a very galvanizing experience. You won't forget it. So this is what is meant by samyak vidvedanam. Virya samvida. Understanding, how am I great? Srila Prabhupada used to say, virya, you can say loosely translated, it means Krishna's greatness or his majesty, his power, heroism, courage, etc. So Srila Prabhupada used to say, everybody says God is great, Allahu Akbar. So, but how is he great? Then when you ask people, okay, how is God great? Tell me about it. Then they suddenly go blank because they actually don't know. So this is not ideal. Really, the thing should be pratyakshavāgamam dharmyam, as Krishna says in chapter 9 of Bhagavad-gita, should be directly experienced by the devotee. So when we associate with devotees who have directly experienced this, these devotees are called prakrishta sangha, very special, advanced devotees, distinguished devotees. Then these topics, katha, they become hrit karna rasayana. What does rasayana mean? In medicine, usually it's translated as elixir. Does anybody know what an elixir is? It's like a sweet syrup that's actually intended to deliver an active ingredient that is maybe not so palatable. But like cough syrup, when the kids are sick, we give them this sweet cough syrup and they like that. No kid will refuse sweet cough syrup. So, but actually it's intended to deliver some medicine at the same time. And this Krishna Katha is like that. Bhavanti hrit karna rasayana katha. It acts as a medicine, although it's very pleasing. Sridhar Swami has glossed the word here, sukhada. Sanatan Goswami has also told us, sukhada, it's very pleasing. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has a different take on it, which we'll look at in a minute. But the point is that it's medicinal as well as very pleasing. How is it pleasing to the heart and to the ear both? Bhavanti hrit karna rasayana. Karna means ear, hrit means heart. How is it pleasing to the ear? Nobody's ever relished the poetry of Srimad-Bhagavatam? It's very beautiful. It's simple, direct, pratyaksha. You can directly experience that. Very beautiful to hear. And hrit rasayana. It's very pleasing to the heart because you recognize that this is true. And it answers your questions, and it encourages you. And it enlivens you that there is a God, and that he's my supreme friend, he's the supreme controller, he's the supreme enjoyer. So these things happen only in the association of pure devotees. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary on this verse points this out. If we are associating with aprakrishta sangha, association that is not so advanced, then we are engaged in bhajana kriya, but we may not go beyond that. But if we associate with prakrishta sangha, and if we hear Krishna consciousness from this association, then this actually transpires that we go beyond anartha nivriti, beyond bhajana kriya through anartha nivriti, and then we actually get the ruchi. So this is the active ingredient, so to speak. Well, let's put it this way. The active ingredient of this rasayana is the realization, the purity, the pure devotion of the pure devotee, the advanced devotee. This is a very special thing to consider. So Jiva Goswami comments here. He says, Rasayanadvena pratamam ruchis tatrapi patito dharanadi charita shravanena shraddha vishvas tatorati bhakti. So that means that the first thing that happens as a result of the medicinal effect of hearing this Krishna Katha from the right source. Who is the right source? His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. How grateful we should be that while the whole world slept, Srila Prabhupada took the austerity upon himself at a late stage in life to stay up all night writing these books for us. We're sitting here today. That proves that he was writing for us. How grateful we should be for that. So when we can hear from such a pure devotee, I mean, this means a lot to me personally because I mentioned this last night. I read many editions of Bhagavad-gita before I came to read Srila Prabhupada's edition. And I frankly, I had some doubt in my mind, why is his edition called As It Is? What about the other editions? Seems a little presumptuous. But then I read it, and I realized that actually I didn't understand all those other editions of Bhagavad-gita because the publishers also didn't understand them. Because they were not paramparagat, evam parampara praptam. So Srila Prabhupada presented Bhagavad-gita for us in this way, and we're so fortunate because by hearing Rasayanadvena pratamam ruchis tatrapi patito dharanadi charitra shavanena shraddha vishvasa hasyat. In the beginning, we have some initial attraction. Maybe the attraction is less that it's pleasing to the heart and more that it's pleasing to the ear, whatever the attraction may be. Sometimes people, they hear the kirtan on Harinam Sankirtana. Tomorrow night, there's Harinam Sankirtana. Harinam Sankirtana ki jai. So sometimes people just take it as pretty music. And they like to dance with the devotees. Oh, these people are fun. That's all they know. But it's a start. That begins their devotional creeper. And because Rasayanadvena, this is the point, with that initial taste, they're established in some degree of bhajan. And that bhajan will purify them. And he says, when we hear of the Lord's character and activities of delivering those who are fallen, then that establishes faith within our hearts, Shraddha. Jiva Goswami very consistently glosses the term Shraddha as Vishvasa, trust, confidence. We believe that, yes, if the Lord has elevated so many other fallen people, then certainly the Lord can also elevate me. This faith is established in the heart. And on the basis of that faith, if we go on trying to cultivate this taste, whatever taste we have, shadow taste or genuine taste, whatever it may be, if we cultivate that through service to a pure devotee, then eventually it comes to tato rati bhakti. It becomes rati, which here means bhakti. Now we have some more to say about that in a moment, but this is the point. These things, bhaktehe purvaparo avasthe. He says these things are preliminary to real prema bhakti. These things have to be there. So that's an important thing. All right, so then the second half of the verse, tad joshanat. What does Josh mean? Josh. That's in Hindi. This is Sanskrit. This word is jush. The dhatu in Sanskrit is jush, means satisfaction, approval, pleasure, liking, choosing. These are all the meanings of the word joshana. So but that's not what Srila Prabhupada says in his translation. Let's see if he's given it a different way here, because this is CC. Here Prabhupada says, from proper cultivation, and I know from memory that in the Bhagavatam Prabhupada also translates it as cultivation. So Srila Prabhupada is giving a little different interpretation to the term. From cultivation, from that tad joshanat, from that cultivation, what happens? Ashu apavarga vartmani. Ashu means quickly. What does Srila Prabhupada say in his translation? Here, this is CC, he says, quickly. In the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada says both things. He says both quickly and gradually. I think, in the purport he says one thing, in the word-for-word synonyms he says another thing. How do we reconcile this? How can ashu mean quickly and gradually at the same time? They're antonyms. Who has an explanation for this? Huh?
It's constant.
Constant?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, yes, you have some?
Gradually, it's constantly, gradually.
Slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
I can't hear you.
So one possible explanation can be like slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So.
We're getting some very creative ideas. Let's hear some more.
From the soul's eternal journey point of view, it's quick, but inside the one birth, it may be gradual.
He's got it. He nailed it. This is described in several places. Baladev Bhushan in his commentary on Bhagavad-gita describes it this way. Jiva Goswami also in his Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu commentary describes like this. Ashu, it seems to be very quick. Well, I should say, first of all, gradually. For us, from our conditional point of view, conditional means conditioned. Because we're conditional, therefore we're conditioned. So from our conditioned perspective, it seems like, oh my God, it's only, it's like, how many hours until prasadam? For us, it's like, our taste is in a very different way. And so for us, it seems like, if I have to invest more than 5 years in this process, I don't know, maybe I'll want my money back if I don't become Krishna conscious by the end of 5 years. We've got our strategic plan without recognizing that it doesn't work according to our plan. Anyway, from our limited perspective, because we're so pinpointed on this temporary mind-body complex and all the dvandva mohas associated with it, Krishna calls them in chapter 7 of Bhagavad-gita, dvandva moha, the bewilderment of duality. These things condition us to think that it's a long time. But actually, if you look at the eternal perspective of things, it's just like that. Jiva Goswami gives this analogy. If you stack 100 palm leaves and you push a needle through those palm leaves, in India we have big long needles, they make garlands. So, it goes through the palm leaves right away, immediately. But actually it doesn't go through immediately. It goes through the 100th leaf, then the 99th leaf, then the 98th leaf, 97, 6, 5, 4, ityadi. So this is the idea. It's quick and it's not quick at the same time. Welcome to the world of achintya bheda bheda tattva. There's a lot more contradiction coming, so get used to it. So ashu apavarga vartmani. The Tamils maybe will not understand this one because they don't have pavarga, they only have pa. But pavarga means pa, pa, ba, pa, ma. And these are, it's like an acronym, you can say. What does it stand for? Pa stands for, anybody know? Parishram. Not only shram. Shram means you work, but parishram, you really work hard, like Amazon. So, how hard do you have to work? Pena. Pena means you're foaming at the mouth. Like the horses, when they used to have horses, now it's all electric stuff and motor cabs and everything. We used to take Tanga from Mathura Junction to Vrindavan, and halfway the horses have to stop because they're already exhausted. They're foaming at the mouth. They require water. So pena, we're also working so hard that we're foaming at the mouth. That's why people hardly have time for Krishna consciousness. At the end of the day, they're so exhausted and so mentally fried from the day of Ugra Karma that, how can they settle down and focus on anything? What to speak of religion, of all things? So, pena. What happens as a result of this parishram and pena? Not as a result, maybe, but concomitant along with it is what? B stands for ba. Bandhana. You're bound up. Everything you do is going to have a reaction. Therefore he says, Yajñarthat karmanon yatra lokoyam karma bandhana. You have to do something, you have to perform some sacrifice. For whom? Yajñarthat. What does that mean? Yajna ka matlab kya hai? Huh? No. Yajño vai Vishnuhu. Yes, Yajna is the name of Lord Vishnu. Specifically, what form of Lord Vishnu is identified with Yajna? Huh? No, fire is not Vishnu, fire is Agni. Varahadev. Yajna Varaha. If you carefully study the prayers in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, you'll find this. He's identified with Yajna again and again. People don't know these things because, nowadays it's, even in India, I should say, especially in India, they're just giving up everything that is paramparagata bharatiya samskriti, and anything that smacks of God, they're throwing it out the window as fast as possible. But used to be that in Madhya Pradesh, many people were worshipping Varahadev very enthusiastically, kind of like nowadays in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana we get what kind of temples? Huh? What did you say? Visa Balaji. No. Chilakuru aside. So, no. Narasingha. I'm talking real temples, not... Yeah, it's true. It's true. We get... Anyway, Visa Balaji, he's on our side. Don't worry about him. He's got a plan. People think they're making the great escape, but actually once they come to America, then they get, Hare Krishna, did you get a book yet? And they finally have some time, and they're finally freed from the harassment of, antithetical, employers and family, and everybody won't let them become Krishna conscious in India. We were just talking about this, The only time you have any freedom to pursue Krishna consciousness is in America, so he's actually working on our side. I figured it out. He's got a plan. There's a reason he's giving out all these visas, Aajkal Telugu ka akramana chal raha hai, no? Aisa lagta hai. Anyway, so the point is that, how do we get on this point? Yajna Varaha. So, you have to do something for Vishnu. Otherwise, that whatever you do, it's going to have a particular reaction, and you have to come back and enjoy or suffer that reaction. Hopefully, if you're doing something pious, that's not too bad. You'll get something pleasing. But it's not so much piety going on nowadays. Frankly speaking, it's quite visible. Every year I spend the winter in Tamil Nadu, and every year I see more and more that the kinds of radical sea change that changed North India, the whole character of North Indian culture 500 years ago, that's now going on in South India. You can see it. I just came back from Guruvayur a few months ago, and from Coimbatore to Thrissur, every 10 feet there's a masjid. All the signs are in Arabic. Even the billboards are showing Muslim families with Muslim dress, Arabic. You can't find a temple anymore. Forget about it's gone. It's like tropical Dubai or something. So everything is becoming increasingly, if not godless, but materialistic at any rate. So this is all bondage, bandhana, karmic reactions. In that association, what is your future going to be? Do you know? When are you going to die? Once the big door slams shut, you can't make any more choices. Jabalagatana me tapana vyapai tabalaga kari hari seva. While you can, take advantage of this human form of life and use it in such a way that you get elevated, not bound up. So parishram, pena, bandhana, tab, bhaya, bhiti. It's fearful because you don't know what the next thing is going to happen. Anything can happen, and you don't know what it is. About 30 years ago in Dallas, Texas, one of our congregational life members, he was watching television with us at home. His family had gone to bed, maybe 10 o'clock at night. He was watching television. I hope he was watching Mahabharata. It was big in those days. So then somebody knocks at the door. He didn't know that, you have to have this little hole installed in your door where you can check out who's coming. You don't answer your door in America at 10 o'clock at night. The last thing he saw was the point of a gun pointed right at his face, blew him to bits, just like that. Probably never knew what hit him. So, anything can happen anytime. Don't risk it. It's a gamble in this ocean of material existence. You can be eaten by a shark anytime, or you can drown, or any number of things can happen. But you will die. You will get old. You will get sick. And you will be reborn. That is bandhana. Therefore, it's frightening. We don't know what the next test is going to be, and we don't know how bad it's going to be, and we don't know when it's coming. It's like, we give this analogy. You invite someone for a wonderful feast, including Puran Puli. But, there's a bomb ticking in the room, and I'm not going to tell you when it's going off. So enjoy your feast. You see, that's what this material world is like that. Therefore, bhiti, bhaya. And finally, pa. What is the last one? Ma stands for maranam, mrityu. The whole thing is crowned with death. Even if you can tolerate the hard work, even if you don't mind foaming in the mouth, you'll pay the reactions, whatever, you're okay with that. You're fearful at every step, somehow you tolerate that. Still, you're dying, Baba. Where akhira akela jana. In the end, you don't know where you're going. Apane hita kachukarale bhai. Akhira akela jana kabir das ne kaha. So, this is the point. Pavarga. But by hearing in good association with pure devotees, cultivating a taste for Krishna Katha, and by appreciating this wonderful Krishna Katha, then very quickly, even if it's gradual, it's still very quick, we are placed on the path of apavarga. Apavarga means the opposite of pavarga. In other words, Sridhar Swami says, apavarga means avidyanivritti, that process that dispels ignorance. And Sanatana Goswami adds mokshova, or in other words, liberation. Path of liberation. So, what happens on that path of liberation? This is the final line. Shraddharatir bhaktir anukramishiti. Shraddha, we've already heard. Adau shraddha. In the beginning, there has to be some vishvasa, some trust, faith. But this is not how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur takes this. How does he gloss the word shraddha here? Not faith. He says asakti. Asakti. What does asakti mean? Attachment. Back in verse 20, remember we mentioned prasangam? The verse was used there. I think it was Sridhar Swami. He glossed the word prasanga as atyantasakti. Atyantasakti, extreme attachment. This kind of attachment we should cultivate for the pure devotees. And this, he says, is called Shraddha. So according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the threefold continuum in the last line is first asakti, and then bhava. Rati in this case, he says, means bhava. And everyone agrees with him. Sanatana Goswami also agrees. Bhava bhakti. That's described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 24, text 30. It's also discussed in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, first book, 4th chapter, texts 1 through 19. So this is bhava. And rati, these terms are a little difficult, not only because we have different lists of different stages. Here we have 3 stages. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we have 8 or 9 stages. Again, in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives us 14 stages. That not only is there a lot of overlap, but sometimes the same terms are used to indicate different things. For example, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we find that rati is described as a subset of prema. There's how many? Maybe nine different aspects of prema. Once you get to love of Godhead, one of those is rati. And lo and behold, another one of those is also called bhava. And there's anubhava as well. So it's a little difficult. Therefore, we have the help of our great acharyas who have glossy terms for us to understand. Now, fortunately, bhakti here in this last line, everyone agrees bhakti means prema, prema bhakti. So, shraddharatir bhaktir anukramishati. Anukramishati, what does that mean? According to Sridhar Swami and Sanatan Goswami, it means kramena bhavishyati. This, you have to go through these things in order, sequentially, kramena. That's the word krama means sequentially. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur tunes this a little more finely. He says, anukramena bhavishyani. What is the difference? Kramena bhavishyati and anukramena bhavishyati. Means you have to go through these one after the other. You can't start with prema and then go to shraddha. It doesn't work. Adau shraddha. The shraddha has to happen first. Okay, so these are a few things that we can look at here. Just to give a better impression, is he able to back up to text number 20? We can read the verses from text 20 to 25 in this chapter. Yes. Prasangam ajanam pasham. And remember what we said is the meaning of prasangam? Atyanta asakti. The most strong kind of asakti. What does the translation say? Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul, but that same attachment, means the degree of attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees, opens the door to liberation. Text 21, famous verse. These giving the characteristics of the sadhus. Titikshava karunikaha sutrada sarvadehinam ajata shantaha sadhavaha sadhu bhushana. These are the ornaments of the devotees. What are they? He's tolerant, merciful, friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He's peaceful. He abides by the scriptures. All of his characteristics are sublime. Next verse, text 22. These are the sadhus that we want to hear from. Mayananyena bhavena bhaktim kurvanti ye drham mat krite tyakta karmanas tyakta swajana bandhavaha. That means, such a sadhu engages in staunch devotional service to the Lord without deviation. For the sake of the Lord, he renounces all other connections such as family relationships and friendly acquaintances within the world. Next verse, text number 23. Mat ashraya katha marshtaha shrinvanti kathayanti cha tapanti vividhastapa naitan madgata chetasa. Have we heard this word before? Madgata chetasa? Huh? It's one of the seed verses of Bhagavad-gita, very important verse. Also, matchitta is another phrase Krishna uses at least twice in Bhagavad-gita. Engaged constantly in chanting and hearing about me, the Supreme Personality of God, the sadhus do not suffer from material miseries because they are always filled with thoughts of my pastimes and activities. Madgata chetasa. And text 24. Ta ete sadhavaha sadhvi sarva sangha vivarjitaha sangasteshvatate prarthyaha sangha dosha harahite. This is something that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur finds significant in his commentary on tonight's verse. He says, this is something that was prayed for previously. He says, Sangha prarthya iti puravoktehe. He's talking about this verse. O my mother, O virtuous lady, these are the qualities of great devotees who are free from all attachment. You must seek attachment to such holy men, for this counteracts the pernicious effects of material attachment. Counteracts the pernicious effects of material attachment. This is like Narad Muni in his Narad Bhakti Sutra. He says much the same thing. Anybody know the sutra I'm thinking of? Tad eva sadhyatam, tad eva sadhyatam. You must strive for this, you must strive for this. Twice he says it. Why? Because this counteracts the effects of material attachment. What kind of effects of material attachment? Pernicious. What does pernicious mean? Pernicious means, remember we were talking about elixir in the beginning? It's cough syrup. There's medicine in it. So the kids like it because it tastes good. They don't see beyond that level. Pratyaksha praman. They understand that much. So they drink it. Happily they drink. Tastes good. Animals also do this. But what if it's not medicine inside? What if it's poison inside? That is pernicious. It looks good. It looks very appealing, but it will kill you. This is the thing. So throughout our Shastras, we find these warnings are there. Whenever we're told, on the positive side, seek association of devotees, the injunction is either implied or explicit, avoid negative association. Anybody can think of an example of this kind of instruction? Think Rupa Goswami. Upadeshamritam, what has he said? Verses 2 and 3. He says the same thing in both verses. You have to accept devotional association, you have to reject non-devotional association. You know what this is called? This is called anvaya vyatireki nyaya. It's a kind of pervasion. If you have to give positive coverage and negative coverage. Sorry? Yeah, same thing is there in that verse. So you always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. This is, the Shastra generally does this. Whenever there's, just like Prabhupada says, you chant 16 rounds, you avoid these principles. The positive and negative should always be there, just so that it's no chance of any mess up. So in 2 verses, he's saying the same thing. Associate with devotees, don't associate with non-devotees. And then in case you didn't understand that, he says, don't associate with non-devotees, instead associate with devotees. So this is the point. So what kind of devotees? This is the point. Prakrishta Sangha. Really advanced devotees. From them, they will take you beyond bhajana kriya. They will take you through anartha nivritti and give you ruchi. This is how it works, what we discussed last night. Vasudeva Katharushi, Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra. We discussed last night also. Mahat Seva means either you serve those who are Mahat or you do service that is itself Mahat. Either way. You have to do something for these devotees will deliver you. Therefore, he's encouraging his mother, seek that association. All right, I should stop here. I don't know if we're over time, but we've been talking about an hour or so. Sorry? I have 45 minutes. More? Ayo. Well, maybe we should ask if there are any questions. I kind of structured this with the understanding I had an hour. Yes. Any of the questions usually take long, so maybe now we'll end on time.
So Prabhuji, you were talking about nishpapasya bhakta, means like those are sinless. So if you actually follow the gradual process...
I'm talking only because Sridhar Swami is talking. I'm just repeating.
You're referencing from Sridhar Swami's commentary.
And Srila Prabhupada's translation also reflects the same. What does he say? Devotees who are completely freed from all vice. Those are his words.
So if you actually see the gradual development of devotional process, like Adu Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangha, Tata Bhajana Kriya, and then Anartha Nivritti. Mm-hmm. So when we actually cross Anartha Nivritti stage, we should attain that platform of nispapasya,
yes.
If I am not correct.
Yes, well, no. I mean, nishpapasya should happen before that. Otherwise, we don't get there. Okay. You cannot ignite wet wood. Anartha nivritti means, you have a tendency to do things that are materialistic, but not necessarily the tendency to do things that are absolutely sinful. That is a different thing. I mean, karma itself is an anartha. Attachment to karma. So what to speak of vikarma? We mentioned this last night. In his Bhagavatam commentary, Jiva Goswami makes this point very clear. There is no such thing as vikarma yoga. So don't try to do it. You can't. You have to be situated in piety in order to perform bhakti yoga. But that piety itself is also an anartha that has to be transcended. Nistrai gunya bhava, he tells Arjuna in Bhagavad-gita. After taking such pains in 3 chapters, actually 5 chapters in the beginning of Bhagavad-gita, then Krishna finally tells Arjuna, forget everything, just try to get through all this. So it serves an important purpose, but it's still an anartha. Sometimes we hear this.
So my next part of the question is like, we also see that, till Anartha Nivritti we are in Kanishta stage. And then when we actually gradually develop to Ruchi, Nishtha and Asakti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, we go to the Madhyama stage. And then bhava and prema is like higher stage, like where uttama stage. So when you are referring to aprakrishta sangha and prakrishta sangha, you are actually meaning like somebody who is in madhyama stage or kanishta stage or uttama stage.
These terms don't apply to the srota. These apply to pravakta. We're talking about the speaker. The speaker should be prakrishta sangha, not the audience. The audience is understood where we need to hear to get to that stage. Is that clear?
Yeah, my question is like you are talking about only the one who is situated in bhava and prema platform here in prakrishta sangha.
Not necessarily, but it's a vague term. It's not well defined even in the commentaries. It means somebody who is excellent. He may be an excellent kanishta adhikari. He's exemplary. He can deliver those who are on that platform to the next stage. The point is that the faith has to be deeper. Sajati ashaya snigdha sadhu sangaswato vare. These conditions are met. They have to be met. If the person is deeper in their faith than we are, that's okay. But if we can't relate to the person, we can't take advantage of the depth of his faith. Because there's no, we can't relate. Sajati ahona. So, but if the person is only similar to us but doesn't have deeper faith in our, then it's also pointless. Because, sadhu sangha doesn't mean you call everybody over to eat pakoras and watch the cricket match. Somebody has to actually be more, solid in their faith than that person who's, let's say he's a Telugu IT engineer. IT meaning international Telugus. Then, that person who has deeper faith, you can relate to them because he's, somebody, the same profession and same whatever. But the person is deeper in Krishna consciousness. That person will avail us. Okay? Is it clear? Yes.
So Maharaj, this you said about the pernicious effects,
yes.
It goes away. Now, in the morning when we wake up and we do our chanting, the state of mind at that point of time, and when we go to work and come back in the evening, can clearly feel that state of mind doesn't exist. You are in a much more like either passion or ignorance, because even if in workplace everything goes smoothly, still that state of mind you have in the morning when you are doing chanting doesn't exist. And what did you suggest?
It's not limited to the state of mind also.
Yes.
It's the state of the environment as well. Yeah. In the morning, the environment itself is more sattvic. In the day, it's rajasic, and with nightfall, it turns tamasic. So therefore, we're advised that, Yanisha sarva bhutanam, it may be that, how shall I say this? When I was in Dallas recently, I was trying to get some sleep after a late program. It's one of the idiosyncrasies of my karma that the more exhausted I am, the less I'm able to sleep. So, I was trying to get some sleep and very much valuing that rest because I need to function the next day. But then you have nishacharas driving down the street. And they have this mega bass speakers in their audio systems in their car, and you have to hear this. So, the environment itself is also is going to infect our consciousness, whether we like it or not. This matter is being crammed into each of our 10 organic senses at every moment, 24/7, no matter where you are. So, fortunately for us, if we are tivrena bhakti yogena, if we practice tivra bhakti, then pungsam kalikritan doshan, all the ugly things that are created by this Kali Yuga, in 3 categories, dravya sambhava dosha, desha sambhava dosha, and atma sambhava dosha. These 3, haran, what does he say? Sarvan, harati chittasto Bhagavan Purushottama. When Bhagavan sees that we're serious about hearing and chanting sincerely and seriously, then he from within, he will purify us of all these flaws. That is one thing. Another thing is that is the essential Bhagavat marg, you can say. Then the Panacharatric Marg and also the Varnashram path is to try to, as much as you can, to arrange the external environment in a way that is favorable. So you don't stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning, meeting a deadline or writing programs or whatever people do it that late. People eat dinner at 11 o'clock at night. Very bad for your health even, what to speak of your spiritual life, because early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. So, we rise early in the morning. When everything is still, for sure you're not going to find the nishacharas out after 7 a.m. So, that point is before sunrise especially. If we can rise before sunrise and eliminate all the poisons, toxins from our system, then shower. That is a sacred bath. It's a scriptural injunction. Non-performance of that bath will incur sinful reaction. So, if we do this, and then we practice sadhana bhakti in those early still, Brahma Muhurta it's called, best time of the day for spiritual practice, then that is the best thing. But even if we have to chant, God forbid, subway rounds, or here you don't have subways, but I'm sure you have some equivalent, then BART rounds, okay, yeah, so. If you're really sincere about it and intense, tivra, then Krishna will still help. Lucky for us, all the most auspicious things are affected automatically in our lives by association. Therefore, we were reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita last night, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Sarva Shastra Koi Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Every perfection, even material perfection is there. We need all kinds of perfection. Is it okay? Anything else? Yes, way in the back.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class. So a quick question about the importance of sadhu sangha. So I understand the need for it for Goshtadandis, but for Bhajanandis who are by default people who kind of sit in seclusion and do things, how would the devotee association come and play a part over there?
Nobody can do bhajan.
Sorry?
None of us can do any bhajan. Bhajananandi is practically impossible. You need association. No. Bino satsangana harikatha, bino mohana bhage. You know this one? Without association, there's no harikatha. This is the whole point of this verse. Even your bhajananandi, that's okay, but you need association.
Yes, then
to do your bhajan, you need association.
I understand. So I'm just kind of missing where the people who are not typical ISKCONites and typical Goshtadandis who kind of mingle with people, where do they get opportunity? Because I think they sit in seclusion and do japa and chanting, and how difficult that may be.
Therefore, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, Taba Harinama Kevala Kaitab. It's just cheating.
I understand. Okay, yeah. So it is not really a recommended.
It's not getting anywhere. They're not going to elevate them.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying.
Anything else?
Could you give us some tips on how do we move ahead from the stage of anartha nivritti? Because it does seem like you're attached to Krishna, you're attached to material things as well at the same point of time. So how do we really get rid of that?
At a certain point, we should realize that either we get rid of the anarthas, or the anarthas get rid of us. His Holiness Rampada Swami was speaking on this topic once. Same passage, actually, the Bhagavatam. And he said that the nature of Bhakti Devi is to remove anarthas. And, when she does that, if you're clinging to those anarthas, then you will be removed along with them. So, that's a pretty stark realization. And most of us, who got one foot in each thing, old habits die hard, it's true. But at least intellectually, if we recognize the logic of this truth, then that's a great help in making, mustering the determination to just push through this process of anartha nivritti. without being mental. And of course, as always, this happens through sadhu sangha as well. The sadhus, they provide us the social trajectory that is created in the association of devotees. They provide us with the inspiration. They provide us with the direction. They sometimes provide us with a kick when we need it. So, sarva siddhi hoy. Everything comes through the association of devotees. That's why I said, even if you're only interested in practicing bhajan, you still need sadhu sangha in order to do that. Otherwise, this is called yoga. No, there's no chance. Is that okay? Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Today morning I was reading this article by Chaitanya Charan Prabhu where he says how Arjuna was practicing his prescribed duty as a Kshatriya. He would practice archery even after everybody's sleeping. And hence because of his complete sincerity he became an instrument in Krishna's plan. He was one of the main warriors in Mahabharata. Is my understanding correct that if I'm whatever duty I have, whatever job I'm doing, if I'm sincere and if I actually try to connect that somehow it'll tie into Krishna consciousness, is that a correct way of thinking? Or how do I do my work and how do I give up the results to Krishna? I'm sort of having trouble understanding that.
It's a pretty general question. Maybe you can be more specific. What exactly is the...
Yeah, for example, I'm a software engineer.
Yes.
How do I... And I work 8 hours per day. I'm on that category. So how do I connect that job of coding?
Are you working during the daylight hours?
Yeah.
Consider yourself very fortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, some people have to do this, offshore.
Yeah.
India is the only country in the world where you consider yourself offshore in your own country. You're onshore in somebody else's country, and you're offshore in your own country. I can't figure that out yet. But I think it has something to do with the reason that Indians produced salt from the Indian salt from the Indian Ocean, gave it to British masters who sent it to England for processing, and then brought it back to the Indians and sold it to them as a high price because it was imported. And Indians think they got independence in 1947. It's the same people still enslaving you that have enslaved your forefathers. Yeah. I mean, if you really want to get me opened up on that topic, that's another trajectory altogether. But you have to balance. Don't forfeit your humanity in order to be so-called successful in your work. You have to do your duty. You have to do it responsibly, and you should try to be successful. But not if it requires forfeiting your Krishna consciousness or your health or your civility or your dharma and all these things. Is it okay? It's complicated. Yeah. The brahmacharis have very simple life. The sannyasis have a very simple life. Vanaprasthas have a life that is simplifying. The grahastas have a very complex set of problems that they have to deal with. And that is why we have spiritual masters, because spiritual masters can, navigate us through, as I said before, the ocean, the Sargasso Sea, you might say, so much, so many distractions, so many difficulties. These kinds of practical questions are exactly why spiritual masters are there to help us. Because they, especially a spiritual master who has been a grahasta, they understand the problem.
I just have a follow-up question on that. How do I? So I'm always trying to think how can I make sometime in future I actually want to attract scientific community to Krishna consciousness, but that's very far-fetched for me, and I feel I don't know how to connect my current job with Krishna. Is that even a thing?
Right. Well, again, this is what spiritual masters do. Ado Gurvashraya. The beginning thing is that we take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. And then from that point on, it's very easy. You have only one thing to do. What is that? Follow instructions. Bus. You don't have to think too much.
Right.
What do you want next? That's it. Kim Kuromi.
Okay.
So, that is a very easy thing.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Otherwise, we have so many ambitions, and sometimes we kind of conflate our ambitions with our Krishna consciousness, and it gets very complicated. And and when we're young and passionate, we all want to make our mark on the world in exactly the same way that every dog wants to pee on every tree. Because this is animal life. Really, Prabhupada said the dogs and cats are running around on 4 legs, and we're running around looking for the same things on 4 wheels. But, it's a sophisticated animal existence based on eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So, by the time you get past 50, hopefully, if you've been reading Prabhupada's books, you see through all this stuff. And you see that it's ultimately pointless. And that the real thing is that, you're going to end up at a 30-degree incline in a hospital bed next to a beeping pole. And that's your life. And, what have you got for it? Who cares how many awards you got, or how much prestige, or how much money, or, that doesn't make any difference. What is your consciousness? Where are you going? Where have you come from? This is human life. People have no idea because, as I said, we were talking about this on the way over here, especially in India, you're discouraged at every step if you try to take the Krishna consciousness. They will not let you do it. Neither the media will allow you to do it, neither the government, neither your employers or your families. It's so difficult. But this is the only thing that makes a human life truly human. Dharnamasya hina pashubhisamana. Without this, we're no better than polished animals, Srila Prabhupada used to say. All right? Yeah, behind you.
Thanks. Hey, Hare Krishna. So my question is related to her first question. So with very little knowledge that I have about Bhagavad-gita, like somewhere Krishna says to Arjun that among trees, I am the tree of people.
He says what? People, yes, correct. Ashwatham.
Among elephants, I am Airavat. Among Pandavas, I am Arjun, right? Mm-hmm. So I live in the best thing which are out there in the world, right? Mm. So if you excel at what your duties are, that means you have godly element living inside you, right? Because I think in order to achieve that height of excellence, you really have to do your parishram with anasakti and through karma yoga, right? So to maybe paraphrase her question in different manner, is the pursuit of excellence in line with pursuit of spirituality, or do they intersect?
We have to understand excellence. There's material excellence, and then there's spiritual excellence.
Scholarly excellence.
Sorry?
Scholarly excellence.
Yeah, that's one kind of material excellence. So, it's fine to have, the whole point of that chapter 10, Baladev Bhushan explains, is to show that in each category, whatever is best is representative of the ultimate excellence, which is Krishna.
So, allow me to give an example. Like when I think of Madame Marie Curie or Louis Pasteur, right? They were trying to achieve their excellence in their work just for the sake of it, right? Without having to enjoy the fame or money that comes out of it. And their invention helped millions of people, generations and again. Well,
I have no idea what their consciousness was, frankly. I can tell you about the mathematician, A.K. Ramanujan. He said that, all of his revelations came to him at night when he was dreaming, and in his dreams, the tire of Namagiri was coming and giving him all these equations. And he felt that was his dharma to do that, so he did it. And he was appreciated for it, although he got a lot of opposition for it as well because he was Hindu.
Right. So what's your take on, but yeah, so with that context, with that definition of excellence, like scholarly excellence, not for personal fame, wealth, or anything.
Yeah, this is Bhagavad-gita. When Krishna tells Arjuna, you know, tato yajyasva bharata, you should fight, but you should not be selfish, and you should not, you know, be lazy, and you should, you know, you have to do it as an offering unto me. This is the real principle behind that. In the end of chapter 10, he says, Yad yad vibhuti mad sattvam srimad urjitameva va tatat eva vaganchotvam mamate jongshansambhavam. Everything you should appreciate is part of my splendor. Therefore, you should actually offer all these wonderful things to me.
Right.
A person who has that spirit, that person is Krishna consciousness. Another person may not have that spirit. He may do great things in the mundane sense, but that's all he gets for it. Temporary mundane appreciation. And it disintegrates after some time. People may appreciate for a few years, but Dhruva Maharaj, we're still talking about him, and this is like kalpas later, yugas later. We're still glorifying his character, because devotional service is a higher degree of excellence. It's far, far beyond all these mundane, paltry concepts that we have of what it means to be a success. You can study a very nice verse in the 5th canto, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana, sarvaya gunais tatra samasate suraha. All the demigods and all their good qualities as well reside eternally in the heart of a devotee. Samyak asate. They sit there completely and forever. That is the difference between the devotee's excellence and the excellence of the karmi who is just, the demigods are also administering that person's good qualities, but only for a certain time period. They clock in and they clock out. It's their job. They have to do it. But they don't really appreciate, these people are ingrates. We have to do our duty and give them what they deserve. But actually, we'd rather associate with this sadhu over here because he's a great soul. The demigods want the association of the devotees. It's described in the commentaries on that verse. Because they appreciate, these people have really got it. They understand what's valuable in life. So, the devotee's opulence, that is eternal. Because his consciousness is love. Actually, even in the mundane sense, mundane success really means, from a scriptural point of view, dharma or karma. And in his Purva Mimamsa Sutras, the greatest acharya of the Purva Mimamsa or Karma Mimamsa school, Jaimiri Rishi, he says actually all these injunctions and all these fruits and all these results of karmic labor, it actually culminates in only one thing, and that is love. So you have both the karma and gyan, the schools of karma and the schools of gyan. They're pointing towards bhakti. The scriptures are also pointing towards bhakti. But it's really explicit only in these Bhagavad-gita, Srimad-Bhagavatam. So a devotee has the greatest success. Is that okay?
Yeah, thanks.
There was another question here, no?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So how we read in the class, you summarized that association of pure devotees takes us beyond the bhajana kriya stage.
Yes.
But also when you explained her question, I realized how mostly 90% of our time is like animalistic tendencies. With that, the whole portion of the day goes like that.
What do you dream about at night? This is the test, acid test. What are you dreaming about at night? That's what your head is full of. That will indicate what is the level of absorption, whether it's more material or more spiritual.
Yeah. So in the whole week, not more than few hours of pure devotee association. So in modern context, how do we really take it?
Let me interrupt you. This is too good to pass up.
Yes.
One of my godbrothers, in India, we have these little red boxes, and you put in the flash drive, and it plays all of Prabhupada's lectures. Do you have those here now? You probably have something close to it. So, one of my godbrothers, he says every waking moment of his day, unless he requires to concentrate his mind on some other task, he's listening to these lectures going. From the time he starts brushing his teeth, while he's getting dressed, while he's cooking, while he's driving, whatever he's doing, he's hearing from Srila Prabhupada. If you're so focused on this instruction, Guru Mukha Padma Vakuchite Te Koryaikya Arana Karyamani, then you're gonna get in about 3 or 4 hours of association with Srila Prabhupada every day. Don't you think that association is going to have its effect? So, what are we doing? It's a question of whether we want to practice Tivra Bhakti or not. This is the meaning of Vyavasayatmika Buddhire Ekeha Kurunandana. If I answered your question, you haven't answered yet.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you very much. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Somebody over here.
Hare Krishna. So my question is kind of related to what she asked. So what I felt in the material world, I was reading somewhere that the body belongs to the material world and the consciousness belongs to the spiritual world. So a lot of, it doesn't mean that if you're excelling in something in the material world, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be a devotee. There are a lot of stories of a lot of devotees who are kings and who managed the whole kingdom, and still they were devoted.
Yes.
So, that's a reflection probably.
But the difference is that the consciousness is on Krishna rather than on the accomplishment. That is the difference. That is what defines Krishna consciousness. It's not a question of activity. It's not like Krishna consciousness is a different activity than anything else. Everything else is also Krishna consciousness in potentia. But, we have to actually get the consciousness together such that we direct it in the right place. Then it's fine. This is the meaning of yet karoshi, yet ashnasi, yet johoshi dadasi yet. Krishna says, well, whatever you're doing is fine. You don't have to change your activities. You only have to change your consciousness. Is it clear?
Yeah, that's clear. And about excelling in something, what role does something like a prarabdha place? You can do whatever you want, but you need the blessing of God to even attain something.
That's true. We mentioned this with regards to yasyasti bhakti bhagavati akinchana. For the non-devotees, they are limited by their karmic restrictions. Like a dog on a leash. If he's got a 10-foot leash, he's going 10 feet and no further. 20-foot leash, okay, but he's on a leash. So we're all like that. Karnamani, what is that? Yes, Yaswindra Govardhana Mahosva Karma Ityadi. So everybody, you may be Indra, or you may be a germ, whatever, it doesn't matter. You've got your karmic restrictions. You've got it's like a credit line. You have higher credit, you get a bigger credit line. So, that's how we're working in the material world. But when we're in Krishna consciousness, then Krishna is maybe directly taking care of our account. He may or he may not. It's up to him. Sometimes he lets our karma go. That's why devotees still suffer sometimes. But ultimately, he's monitoring everything. That is the difference. And Krishna doesn't take such personal care and attention for the non-devotees because they don't want him. So he says, okay, he backs off and lets them do what they want. But if a person approaches Krishna and says, Tavasmiti chayachate, then Krishna will take care of him from that point on. He's mine. He's chanting my name. He's a devotee. We were discussing this. Tulsi mala, even. If a person is wearing a tulsi mala, then the Yamadutas see him wearing this, and he's one of Vishnu's people. We can't, you see? So it's like that. You may not be advanced even very much, but if you make that decision, then Krishna considers you a devotee. But if you excel, well, look at it this way also. Yoga kshemam vahami, Krishna says, he will provide whatever we lack, whatever we are not gifted in terms of our own karma, and whatever we do have, he will preserve that. This is the devotee's excellence. It's a very different thing than the karmi's excellence. Is it clear? Okay, somebody over here was, yes.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. I'm wondering about, earlier you gave the example of someone being attracted to hearing kirtan on the street.
Yes.
And this idea of not being able to take to bhakti without the mercy of the devotees. sometimes I struggle to reconcile the need to use our free will to turn to Krishna and the inability to do so without mercy, and how the two work together. And I was hoping you might address that.
I'm not sure what your question is.
How is it that how can we use our free will to turn to Krishna if we can't use our free will because we need mercy?
No, you always have your free will. You don't require mercy for that. But if you want to take to bhakti, then you need mercy. So the free will is let me hear what the devotees are saying. You exercise your volition in investing in sadhu sangha. Or even sometimes you don't exercise any volition, but the sadhu comes to you, and you get some sort of something. You're engaged on the basis of that little speck. You have begun your bhakti lata. So it ultimately it is mercy, actually, ultimately. But our free will is also there. Always we have our free will.
Would it be correct to think that it's our free will is used in some way to receive the mercy, that we have to choose to receive it? Is that a way of thinking about it?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Sounds okay to me. Vaisheshika Prabhu, you have any?
Okay.
Seems like you're okay. All right, anything else? Way in the back.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So Krishna talks about direct perception, the ninth chapter.
Yes.
And knowledge gives the direct perception. So in some ways, the very fact that you are not your body, the knowledge gives you the right orientation to think about it.
But I didn't catch that.
The very knowledge that you are not the body, gives you the right orientation to think about it the right way.
Yes.
But where I usually struggle is your personal experiences feeds your perception.
Your personal
experiences feeds your perception.
Feeds your perception.
And then it reinforces faith as you actually experience moments of Krishna.
Yes, this is the idea. It's like Jiva Goswami said, we hear about how the Lord's character is such that he uplifts the fallen, and then faith is, we develop some faith. Well, I'm fallen, but he's uplifting so many fallen people, so maybe me too.
And pardon my ignorance, this is where what I struggle is, what is a positive and what is a false positive? Because you don't want to hallucinate on something. The challenge is always like it's a positive experience and you are actually building upon your faith based on the positive experience. But what you really don't want is hallucination actually feeding yourself.
Sometimes it can be experienced that the things that really motivate us in Krishna consciousness in the beginning, maybe a decade later we look back and see that was all completely material. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, the material aspect of it is, there is conviction that things are temporary. But where I actually struggle is this experience given to me to learn something?
Yes.
Or am I actually...
there is some degree of subjectivity there, and that's why we have spiritual masters and sadhus to associate with. We should reveal our minds in confidence. We should inquire confidentially. And then, whatever our experience is, if we think that maybe Krishna is reciprocating in a certain way, then we have to assume that Krishna will speak through the mouths of the devotees who are sincere. And that is the safe process. Otherwise, it's like, there are so many people that, God told me to load this rifle and go in a public place and start blasting people. It happens. People, who don't have knowledge, they do such things because they don't have the process. So again, we can see in this example the great boon that is association with devotees. Okay, anything else? I don't know if we're ready to stop now. Or one more here. Are we over time or? Oh, okay.
So Prabhuji, I'm reading a translation from Bhagavad-gita. It's 12:16. A devotee who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains, and who does not strive for some result is very dear to me. Now my question here is, when Krishna is saying ordinary course of activities, he is saying that they are not material activities, they are spiritual activities, and he is also mentioning they are expert. So this expertise is not material expertise, it's more on the spiritual side, or it could be material?
Well, it's material when he's doing it for himself, and it's not material when he's doing it for Krishna. But the mechanics of Mahamaya and Yogamaya are identical. That's why people mistake Krishna as an ordinary being, because he looks like one.
Yeah.
And the devotees as well. Ihayasya harer dasya karmanamanasagira nikalashwapi vastu jivan mukta uchate. He may look like a pound shilling pence man, but what's happening inside you can't see. If his only purpose inside is to use his mind, his body, and his words in Krishna's service, then that person is liberated even while he's alive, even while he's living in this world. He may be working for Oracle or Amazon or whatever. But if his internal purpose is only to please Krishna, and if he's properly guided by Krishna's representatives, then Jivan Mukta Sa Uchyate.
So here, who does not strive for some result, is that material result, the result for himself, that's what he's talking about?
Yes. Okay. Because devotees, as you know, we strive very hard for results. But, our results are Krishna's results. Therefore, they will be successful. Unless, Krishna wants to test us, which he often does. That's why in Vrindavan everybody takes shelter of Srimati Radharani instead. You never know what Krishna's going to do. He can do anything, anytime. Okay, I think we can stop now. And Vaishesha, one more here.
So Prabhu, this is a general question. How in Nectar of Devotion, the first symptom of devotional service that is explained is that one is relieved of distress.
Yes.
But then, Kunti prays to Krishna, she prays that, give me more problems, because problems means... So the devotee is asking for distress, but then the first symptom of devotional service is your distress will go away. So how do we reconcile?
Smart question. Klesha Gni Shubhada Bhakti. These are the two excellences of sadhana bhakti only. What to speak of bhava bhakti, prema bhakti? They each have two excellences of their own. Your material life, the sinful reactions are going to be eradicated. That is Klesha Gni. The suffering is always sinful. Suffering is never pious. It's always a sinful reaction. And Shubhada means it confers upon you piety even though you don't deserve it. Therefore it's called Punya Shravana Kirtana. It is Punyavat Bhakti by its very nature. But these things are not karma. These things they're the excellences of Bhakti itself. They're spiritual excellences. Now, regarding Kunti Devi's approach that, let me suffer more and more, she was also spiritual in her approach in that she recognized that when we are in a situation of reverses, we will take shelter of Krishna. Once I was in a very difficult circumstance, and my godbrother Keshava Bharati Maharaj pointed out to me that, we say, how many times do we talk about taking shelter of Krishna? I mean, it's a very common phrase. So what does shelter mean? Shelter, what does it mean? What is shelter? Protection from something. Protection doesn't exist unless there's some attack, right? You are protected from something. There's never protection if there's no threat. This is the point. Therefore, these threats are Krishna's mercy. And they help us to advance in bhakti. It's kind of like tough love. they say in primary educational circles. You have to be a little tough with the kids sometimes if they're a discipline problem. So material nature serves that purpose, but even in pure Krishna consciousness, sometimes Krishna just wants to test his devotee. In the passage of Priyavrata Maharaj from the 5th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, we may recall Priyavrata did not want to get married. He was detached and he was afraid of becoming attached. So, Swayambhuva Manu had to preach to him, and Lord Brahma had to come and preach to him. So many people had to preach to him. He was so hesitant to get married. Finally, they convinced him to get married. So when he got married, what happened? He became attached. Sometimes, there's a couple of things to consider here. Sometimes, likitamapi lalate pransitam kaha samartha. Whatever's written on your forehead, you cannot overcome that. If you're fated to suffer, then even if you're doing the right thing for the right reason and, instructed by the right persons, still you suffer because it's meant to be. That is karma. But even if we are purely motivated, and even if it's not a question of karma, sometimes Krishna just wants to test us. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments on that passage that the reverses of a devotee are threefold. Number one, it may be prarabdha karma, which we just have to tolerate. Krishna sees fit to let that prarabdha karma operate because it will help us. It will purify us. Anyone ever been through Saturn? If you have, you know. So these things will help us in devotional service. Even mundane suffering will help us in devotional service if we take it properly. So that's one reason. Another thing is that maybe it's actually the more common than not, the reason a devotee has to suffer is from what? Anybody know? Offense. We've committed some aparat. And that does happen. Very often it happens. That is the number one cause of devotee suffering. But the third reason is even more scary than those two. The third reason, he says, sometimes either Krishna or his devotee wants you to suffer for some inscrutable reason that you can't figure out. You see why I said we take shelter of Srimati Radharani? She knows what it's like. Ashlishya Pavara, the gopis came and told her after Krishna went away to Mathura that this guy's not coming back, you're better than him, you should just forget about him. And she said, yeah, I know, he's Lamparta. But, mat prananatas tu sevanaparaha. So she knows what it's like to deal with Krishna. So if we take shelter of Srimati Radharani, that's the best bet. You can sleep peacefully if you're sleeping in the door of Srimati Radharani. One Braj poet says. So, why is it that devotees want you to suffer? Sometimes the mixed devotees want you to suffer. For example, not only in ISKCON, but even among the demigods, sometimes if they see that you're becoming, you're checking out of their system, they actually require our input for their own maintenance. And they don't it's described in the Upanishads, just as a farmer, who he may have so many cows, but he doesn't, even if you've got hundreds and thousands of cows, he still doesn't like to lose even one cow. So, even though we're like mustard seeds in the cosmic scale of things, but, sometimes the demigods are very attached. And so they don't like us to check out of that system. And so they send obstacles our way. How many times have we read about this in the Bhagavatam? Like Indra tried to stop Prithu Maharaj's horse sacrifice because he was about to become the Dvitiya Shatakratu. I'm the only Shatakratu. He should not be Shatakratu. So, or Krishna for his own reason. Just like Jatayu. Jatayu, what did he, it seems like he lost all around, right? Neither he saw Ram, neither he, lived. So, what to do? This is what it means to be surrendered. You ready?
Anyway, we're not suffering now listening to you, that's for sure. And just in closing, and out of gratitude for your coming to visit us, one may be dedicated to reading Srimad-Bhagavatam but it's 1,000 times sweeter and more potent when someone who's read and digested Bhagavatam comes and speaks to us. So I speak for everyone here. I'm sure that we're feeling this effect from your taking Srimad Bhagavatam under the shelter of your gurus and representing it to us in a way that that goes deep within our hearts. So we thank you very, very much for coming here to ISKCON of Silicon Valley. And we invite you now, if you would, since many of you may or may not know that Sri Mukunda Datta is one of the best kirtan singers in the world. If you would lead us in the Gora Arti here before Gauranga Mahaprabhu and the Panchatattva, we'd be deeply grateful. And speaking of gratitude, let's please thank His Grace Sri Mukunda Datta Prabhu. A little more.
Hare Krishna. In the Srimad-Bhagavatam, in his commentary on the verse from the 5th canto, Swastiyastu Vishwasya Khala Pratidadam, Srila Prabhupada says that Prahlad Maharaj is a typical Vaishnava. And in a similar way, I can say you've given me a typical ISV welcome, which I appreciate very much. Thank you. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.